So this is our final challenge in our Excel month. And so we're looking at vlookups, index matches, basically just bringing together data that's on two different sheets in your Excel file. So we've got some employee sales. So we've got the store that employee is from, their name, and then their sales for each month. What we want to do is we want to work out their average sales first of all. So we could do that, with a calculation and add together each of the months and divide it by 7, or we could pivot our data and use the aggregate step to do this more dynamically, and then when an extra month is added in, it all gets picked up, and dynamically that average um, will calculate again. So I'm just going to change this back to a profile pane view. It's just showing you the table at the moment, so this is showing you the profile pane view now instead. So first of all, as I was just saying, that pivot, I'm using a wildcard pivot and finding any field that contains that dash, because that's how my dates are structured, and just bringing those into the pivot, renaming them to be month and sales for those values. Then we're doing that aggregation, so grouping by our store, grouping by our employee. Important to group by the store as well, because you can see we have multiple Edwards, multiple Jessies in different stores. And then we're just doing that average. And one thing that sometimes frustrates me a little bit about Prep is that it would just keep this field name being sales when you know that you've averaged that up. So important to rename that field average monthly sales so you know what you're looking at. Okay, so if we're then going to be comparing this to our target for each of our employees, then we need to start looking at our target sheet instead. So let's have a look at that. Here we have our store, our employee, and their monthly target. But you can see there's something wrong with our store here. We've got 17 values rather than 4. And that's just some typos in there. And the quickest way to get rid of those is to use the group values. And I went by spelling. And I think that that works immediately, picking up the correct spelling for each of those stores, which is great. So I'm going to hit done, and then I'm just going to delete that change because I do that in the next step anyway. So that's nice and clean. Now we can go ahead and join that to our average monthly sales for each employee, making sure that we join both on the employee and the store and have those 35 values coming out the other end. Now what we're going to do is we're going to filter out and only look at employees who their average monthly sales are less than 90% of their target. So we do that, I use the filter values button and I can click on that to edit it. So we've got our average monthly sales being less than our monthly target times by 0.9. And you can see that we're left with these 4 employees. And then I've just rounded that average monthly sales number just so that it looks neater going forwards for this. The purpose of our analyses don't need to be exact to decimal places. Okay, so we've done quite well with the requirements of the challenge so far. Now what we want to look at is for these 4 employees, how many months have they actually hit their target? Is it just one bad month that's dragging their average down? What's the spread of their data? So we're going to join that back to our pivot step. So joining on our store and employee again, and this time we get 28 rows back. So 4 employees times by 7 months, 28 rows, that all makes sense. And then we're just going to calculate the number of months that they met their target, or whether in that particular month an employee is meeting their target. So I'm using an inline if, immediate if. I've heard it called different things here, but saying if that sales value is greater than or equal to the monthly target, then give us a 1, otherwise give us a 0. And that means that when I come to my aggregate step, I can just sum up that field and see that, okay, for example, Edward has only hit his target 2 out of the 7 months. So I'm bringing through my store, my employee, I'm grouping on my average monthly sales and my monthly target so that they come through as one row. We're going back to 4 rows basically. And I'm counting how many months there are and summing up that met target field. And this gives me the ability to create this final calculation here of percentage of months that the target has been met which is the Met target over the month. So that 2 over 7, for example, multiplying it by 100 so that it gives me, a percentage value, we can see that down here, for example, that's 57%. And we're just rounding it to 0 decimal places as well, just for, again, we don't need that level of precision. And then we're finally left with our 5 output fields. So hopefully that was another nice and quick challenge, and you can see how you might have done it in Excel as well. And thank you very much for watching and following along with this series.